Hey guys, haven't posted for a while. I was in Cuba and doing other stuff. Strange for my second video. I am going to do a contest video. Never done one of these. Everybody seems to be doing them, and I thought it was just a good excuse to push myself to make a video. Alright, so this is a contest by the Omaha Introvert. She's got some rules. I'm going to go through them like it's the questions is the rules, I guess. So question 1. Where do you live? I live in Huntsville, Ontario, which is about 2.5 hours north of Toronto. I don't know if there's anybody more north than me in Canada. If so, let me know in the comments section. What is the best sounding album you own on vinyl? Well, that one was really tough. I'm sure it changes all the time. I depending on, sometimes I put a record on I haven't listened to for a while and I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. But one I do kind of go back to on a pretty regular basis is this guy, Mazzy Star, So Tonight That I Might See. I don't know much about the pressing. Honestly, I know it's a reissue on clear vinyl. There's just something about it. This record, I mean, this was made to be on vinyl, and every time I put it on, it's one of my favorite chill out records. Thing that and like Nick Drake, super mellow, lots of kind of reverb on tambourines and things like that. Not as much as the Jesus and Mary chain, just enough to make it sound pretty stellar. Makes the whole system sound pretty warm, which is important for me because I actually, our receiver died a few years ago. Living so far up north, it's harder to find used stuff. I'm currently running it through a Denon right now that's not really set up for phono. And then my father-in-law gave me a couple speakers from his home theater thing because my speakers were too big to fit in this house. Okay, next question. What decade of era of music is your least favorite and why? Decade or era? That's pretty tough for me. I play guitar and do all types of music on top of the guitar. I kind of like, I'm not sure there's a decade that I'm not a big fan of. There's decades where I didn't like certain genres of music. I'm not a big fan of current mumble rap. Does that count? Because I can't say I don't like all music now, because of course there's tons of music of different genres that I do love. But currently, mumble rap and kind of the state of hip-hop, I mean, it's changing a little bit again now with Kendrick Lamar's and Logic's, Childish Gambino's, guys like that kind of remind me, I'm old, so I like old school hip-hop. For me, a big thing is, I want my hip-hop to be funky. I like it to go, I don't like listening to an artist that sounds like the beats were put together by somebody with a PhD in computer design. I don't want to think that hard. I want my hip-hop funky. I want to be able to bob my head. And I want to be able to understand what the hell the MC is saying. That's a big thing for me. My favorite MCs are guys like Chuck D and KRS-One. I like guys with a good voice and guys who just attack and are clear. I want to be able to rap along. So I guess current mumble rap, I guess, would be my decade or era of stuff that I'm not a big fan of. Of course, there's probably other genres, time periods of genres that I wasn't a big fan of either. I could go on forever about that. What 5 Psych albums do you recommend? I don't have a ton of Psych albums. I'm not entirely sure where the genre lines on Psych albums begin and end. Of course, I mean, I would say things like if you go to any Velvet Underground, is it a Psych album? I don't know. I would say you're probably good there. Again, another one that I'm not sure. I'm sure lots of people would disagree that it is a Psych album or that they're even a Psych band. But Mr. Bungle, the Sonics. If the Sonics are a Psych band, I guess they would count. But I do have something different to fill in that gap. Canadian bands. I'm not sure how many Canadian bands break the American border, but here's I got a few that have been my favorites either for a long time or recently. These guys from Montreal, the Bar Brothers. Check their videos out online. I was instantly hooked the first time I even heard their name. Folky indie stuff. Outstanding, and that is an outstanding. That record, possibly as good sounding as that Mazzy Star record. Fantastic sounding record. From Toronto, Jennifer Castle, Pink City. I have 2 of her records. They both are amazing and amazing sounding. Singer-songwriter. This is actually the front cover. I saw her open for Bahamas in Kingston, Ontario, and was instantly sold. She was fantastic. Again, Toronto, the Great Lakes Swimmers. This is an anniversary pressing. Tony Decker, singer-songwriter, records the Great Lakes Swimmers with an array of people. This one was recorded, if I remember correctly, in a grain silo just outside of Toronto. I saw them in Windsor, Ontario at a little 60-seater venue called Fog. Just after their second record, just after the one after that. And it was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life. I was so taken with that band and felt so lucky to be there that night. Another one from Toronto. I don't know why. I'm from Winnipeg, so I don't know why all of these guys are from Toronto or the Toronto area. I don't know them. Hayden. I picked Moving Careful. To me, this has always been my favorite Hayden record. I love all the other ones, but there was just something about this one that just stuck for me. My first video is about this one. So if you're curious, go back to that one and watch me ramble about that video. So, there's more than 5 here. I'm from Winnipeg. Gotta rep the Winnipeg boys. Propagandhi. I really probably could have picked almost any of the Propagandhi records. I went with Today's Empires, Tomorrow's Ashes, which is where the Propagandhi lineup changed a little bit. And they lost John Kay to the Weaker Thans. Well, they didn't lose him. John Kay focused on the Weaker Thans, and they brought in a dude from I Spy, another Winnipeg band. I have a 10-inch I debated putting in here. That's my favorite one. It's probably my favorite one. It's a little bit more hardcore. And in case anybody wants to get angry, the band. Yes, they're a Canadian band. There's one guy that's not from Canada. They're a Canadian band. They played the circuit in Toronto for years before heading to the States. There's 5 records, 5 artists I think are worthwhile checking out, and sometimes I'm not sure if the States knows we play music up here. Aside from the Celine Dion's and the Justin Biebers and the Bryan Adams, there's still other stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Record with a cat on it for the bonus. I thought this was going to be easier, quite honestly. I was like, surely there's tons of records that have cats on them. You know, and I kept thinking about things like it seemed to me like guys like Sufjan Stevens, would have cats. And I couldn't find one. And then, so I'm sure I'm going with the one that probably a lot of people are going with. That cat right there. Tapestry, Carole King. Alright, it's my second video. Contest entry. Shoot me a like, shoot me a subscribe. Let me know what you're thinking, and I'll get back to you. Oh, I have a bonus. I did pick out another 5. This is an American one. Kind of keeping on the Canadian theme. These were all released on a record label called Secretly Canadian. And this guy was one of my favorite songwriters. A guy that this guy can bring me to tears every single time. Jason Molina records his Magnolia Electric Company. This is the last one I just got. But every single one, I don't think there is a bad Jason Molina record. So you'll find records from him as Magnolia Electric Company with a band. Songs Ohio that had a band, but I think it changed. Maybe I have that backwards. Sometimes Jason Molina. Every single one of these records, outstanding. It's one of those. He's one of those guys. If I see a Jason Molina thing anywhere, I'm going to buy that. Rock and bluesy stuff. Very hard hitting. Not musically challenged. Fairly basic, but deceivingly so. I don't know how that dude can play 2 chords for like 9 minutes and still rip your heart out. He was an amazing guy who unfortunately passed away way too soon. Alright, that's my entry. Check you guys later.